Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the this webinar, part of our Placemaking for Town Centres webinar series. Today we're looking at a very important topic of community involvement and empowerment. If this is the first webinar that you're joining us in, please note that there have been a couple already. We had one in September about embedding placemaking in local authorities, one in October about promoting private sector investment, and save the date for December the 11th because we're going to have another one on tackling vacant units. The previous two are available on the DCFW YouTube channel, so you can access those there if you would like to watch those back. Similarly, today's session will be recorded and put there as well, so you can share that afterwards. If you're familiar with the Placemaking Wales Charter, you will know that people and community is one of the 6 principles of the Charter. And it's one that we put first and put at the top because it is a key fundamental aspect of placemaking. People should be at the heart of placemaking, but we also recognise that it's very easy for this not to be the case. It's very easy to focus on the plan, the process, the buildings, the built environment, and perhaps limit or exclude the input of the community and the people who should be involved in shaping the plan or implementing the interventions. But there's so much more opportunity for using placemaking as a way to involve and empower people along the way. This is a big topic, lots to explore here. You know, we could talk all day, all month about this topic, but we're going to dip in today and explore what it means for placemaking in town centres. And I'm really pleased to be joined by 3 speakers who are going to give their very different perspectives on what this means for them. So just to let you know who's coming up, we've got Claire Wilkes from LDA Design. She's going to give us a consultant's perspective of working with communities on placemaking plans. We've got Alex Shand from the Vale of Glamorgan Council, providing a local authority perspective and what they've been doing there to promote community involvement. And Ruth Essex, who's a creative engagement consultant, who will be sharing her experience and some ideas and inspiration for community engagement. Each of them will give a short presentation, and we'll probably pack in lots of their experience and their learning and their inspiration on this topic. And then we should be left with time at the end for Q&A. And it would be great to take your questions at that stage. So as you're listening, if you've got any questions for any of the presenters or anything you'd like to share or discuss, please do drop that into the Q&A section of the webinar, and I'll pick those up at the end. So got lots to get through today, so I will pass over to Claire to share her screen and share her presentation. Thank you, Claire.
Hi there. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Okay. So yeah, I'm a director at LDA Design, and I'm an urban designer and master planner, and I lead LDA's Bristol studio. LDA Design was commissioned by Gwynedd Council to prepare first a master plan for Bangor city centre and then a placemaking plan, which was adopted in 2023. So today I'm going to talk about ways in which the community in Bangor has been empowered and how this has evolved through the process. And I'll focus on 3 stages. First will be before we started work on the plan, then during the plan making process, and then since the plan was adopted. So the process has been about how to allow the community's involvement to flourish. We linked up with a wide range of representative organisations in the city, and to reach different parts of the community who are less likely to contribute, we had to think outside the box. A little bit of context, Bangor is, as you probably know, a small cathedral city in North Wales, the oldest city in Wales, and has the longest high street in Wales. It has many of the challenges which are affecting towns and cities across the UK, the cost of living crisis, changing lifestyles, edge of town and online shopping, and climate crisis. And the length of this high street is a problem in itself. I won't go into all the reasons today, but the result is an increase in shop vacancies, which has been accelerated by COVID. These multiples I've listed here have all gone. So the placemaking plan and what it achieved was to provide funding investment for priority regeneration projects, and really importantly, it was also about people and partnerships. The plan was shaped by the community and stakeholders. It established a long-term collaboration and partnership in the city. The community had a clear sense of purpose and long-term stewardship after LDA Design left. And the plan has also helped develop strong momentum and energy among entrepreneurs and investors and citizens, now being harnessed to achieve transformational change. So before we started writing the placemaking plan, we started with conversations to build a feeling of ownership locally and a sense of excitement. And we did this with what we called the Big Master Planning Week in Bangor, which LDA Design facilitated. And the purpose of this and what we did was to mix as many people as we could get around different tables, to listen to each other's points of view, and come up with, first of all, the issues and challenges for the city and start to think about some solutions. And this really was a good way of harnessing local knowledge and important for drawing up the plan and delivering regeneration projects. So during that week, we certainly by the end of the week, we had agreed the vision, objectives, and a long list of regeneration projects. We did, for the sessions, we've completed each session by writing up on a number of sheets across the wall all the different issues and possible projects. And we asked people as they left to put three orange dots, an orange dot on three of what they thought were their priority projects. And this was really, really helpful for us to understand what the community most prioritised for the future of the city. During the plan making process, we then moved on to having regular contact with Bangor's strategic partnership and the new regeneration officer, Will Adams. So often there are too many organisations in a town and city, resulting in fragmentation. So unifying them into a partnership is really key for effective long-term stewardship. And we prepared this graphic for the plan as a reference to show the organisations in Bangor who are represented on the strategic partnership. And we've really encouraged them to expand on this since then. We also did lots of walkabouts with the representatives of the community and one-to-one catch-ups with key representatives of organisations and establishments in the city. So sorry about this fuzzy image, but I wanted to include it because in order to reach different parts of the community, we handed out large AO maps of the city centre and piles of post-its. And these went to schools and communities such as Maasgerchen, which is the other side of Bangor Mountain. And they added all their kind of comments and thoughts about what they wanted for the future of the city and a wish list, and sent it back to us. And we got quite a few back, not all of them, which is a challenge, but we certainly gained a lot of knowledge from this. And I can't underestimate the amount that Fran Wen, the Nith Creative Cultural Centre, contributed to empowering the community in Bangor, and they continue to. And they were really excited about the project at the Master Planning Week and continued to collaborate with us through the plan making process. And they pinned up one of our maps and gathered responses from all the youth groups they work with. They were in an empty shopping centre space at that time, but they've now moved into this amazing St Mary's Church, which they've renovated with lottery funding for a huge amounts of performance rehearsal spaces, and they are engaging with young people all across the city. So since the placemaking plan was adopted in 2023, LDA Design stepped away, and it's the strategic partnership with Will Adams, the regeneration officer, who've had stewardship of the plan. And a huge amount of activity has been taking place in the city. All the vacant shops, which have been multiples, which I listed at the start, have been repurposed. They're being used for health, leisure, food and beverage, adult education, workspaces and living. This is an extraordinary turnaround for the High Street, and is due to a particularly important strength. And this is coming from the fact that the public and private sector and the community are working together to drive this change. There are still many other vacancies, but this has been enough, and I want to just give you a few examples. So here we have the county, council, and a local developer who have used the placemaking plan to gain using a range of types of funding to deliver some small projects to improve the high street. And these include refurbishing 10 building frontages, introducing finger post wayfinding across the city, commissioning vinyls for vacant shop windows, greenery, street furniture, electric car and bike charging points, and a deep clean. There's also businesses, enterprises in the university and the college, Llandeilo Menai, who have started investing their own money locally, and they're repurposing other empty shops. And this includes, for example, Topshop is now an educational hub for adult learning and community support services. The university have used a building for their new medical centre. The Menai shopping centre has been bought and now has a small health hub and funding in for a bigger health hub. And the Denny shopping centre has also been bought. This was Old Pound World, is now Bwyth Da Bangor, and it combines membership-based food share programme, redistributing surplus supermarket stock. It's a training cafe with staff from Penrhyn House Rehabilitation Centre, and they are living in supported accommodation in Bangor and will receive qualifications. And just one more is Sparks, which is a makerspace offering business support locally. There are also two new sports bars and pubs and a couple of restaurants. So the Business Improvement District, Bangor First, they've been going through a lot of changes, and but now they have a new leader, and they're contributing to the Transforming Towns projects I just mentioned, and they're committed to supporting Christmas lights and events and Bangor's 1500-year-old anniversary next year. So to finish, how is the community feeling empowered? With all these players working together, I've just mentioned, they're really driving this change towards economic prosperity and addressing the big drivers of change in the city. They're building momentum, there's a trust, and there's a sense of shared endeavour. This map shows where those projects are, most of which were centred around the middle section of the High Street, which was the vision for the placemaking plan. The way the tide is turning can be described as radical incrementalism. Rather than a big bang major spatial transformation, often what is more successful is to identify a set of smaller projects which build momentum towards a bigger vision and bring the communities along. Big moves still need to happen, but a whole range of small steps are achieving this larger goal, and there are still many more challenges. However, there's a feeling of confidence returning and evident with individuals investing in the properties and also more people moving in to live in the city centre. So it's showing a real belief in the future. And one more thing is that when we were there were a lot of negative stories in the press about the city. But with improved communication through the Regeneration Office's newsletter, which goes out quarterly, there's been much more positive news stories about all these projects which are coming forward, and that's also really helped to build momentum. So lastly, when we were during the master planning week at the beginning, we asked young teenagers in the city to do mental maps of what they wanted for the future of the city. And this one was one of my favourites, and is certainly actually coming to light and happening. So one, concentrate shops in one area and could make the walk slightly nicer. Two, make the high street look nicer with flowers, enjoy the heritage, benches in different colours. And 3, a modern city tucked in a rural landscape. Tourists may want to visit a modern, clean city, but still experience the rural side of things, just 10 minutes to Snowdonia. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Claire. What a fantastic whiz through the history of your work in Bangor, and great to see some of those initiatives coming through. Yeah, I spotted one of those early boards with ideas on said more jam in the donut, and I think that's come in the form of lots of little bits of jam, hasn't it? That's starting to fill the donut rather than sort of one big hit of jam. So I think that's really helpful to see how that's going and how the people have come along in the process. Great, thank you. I'm going to pass over to Alec next to tell us what Vale of Glamorgan have been up to in this space. Thanks, Alec.
Can you see my screen? Okay. It comes through my screen.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, if you want to go on share on slideshow, and we.
Yeah. I might leave that. Oh, there you go.
That's brilliant. Thanks.
Hi everyone. So my name is Alex Shand, and I am a senior community engagement officer who currently working for the Vale of Glamorgan Council. And today I'll be speaking about the placemaking work that we've done in the Vale as part of our placemaking agenda, with a focus on, as Jen alluded to earlier, empowering communities across the Vale. Currently I'm working with my colleagues Arabella Calder and Maria Velios, who are in the call today, and we are currently working in partnership with the local councils and communities in developing placemaking plans in Cowbridge, Lanswick Major, Penarth and Barry, areas which have their own unique challenges. And so, yeah, so we're currently working on placemaking plans in all 4 areas. And then quickly onto the policy. So firstly, all of our work we've done at the Vale has been underpinned by the Future Generations Act, specifically in that nice circle looking at a Wales of cohesive communities, like relevant to this discussion here, and the desire to create an attractive, viable, safe and well-connected communities. The importance of placemaking and the local community is outlined in the placemaking guide, highlighting that communities should be involved in the process of planning, designing and managing places. And for us at the Vale, this kind of just highlights the importance of involving the community at the outset of the placemaking process, not moving along a juncture, like bringing people in right from the start, as if we believe this brings the best opportunity to identify the needs, concerns, aspirations of the local community. And then furthermore, having this early involvement of the local community helps develop a sense of ownership and belonging to a place. It's a really important element for us, that people, they feel they have a stake in the work that they're doing. They're not just being top-down discussions, they're bottom-up and what have you. And then next we've got the planning policy Wales, obviously focused on placemaking, promoting sustainable places, creating socially inclusive developments and developing more cohesive communities. These are the policy documents that are driving our agenda. And then moving down to the local scale, the council became a signatory of the placemaking charter in 2023, and the cabinet report signing that off specifically outlines the need to involve the local community in development of proposals. And then finally, not finally, 2 more. So we're currently working through our draft plan. It's currently out to public consultation, and it's really good to see that placemaking is mentioned 27 times in this document. So we are, with time, seeing placemaking being picked up by other departments throughout the council. Right. And then finally, we are also working on our replacement local development plan. We're going to public consultation next year. And one of the key themes which have been identified within that is placemaking. So again, we're seeing that placemaking has been front and centre of all policy documents across the council. I'm sure you're all familiar with this chart. So what we've, as I've already alluded to, what we've really placed a lot of emphasis on is involving the local community right from the start. We've really bought into that vision. And then moving on to what we're doing within the council now. We've got an internal placemaking group meeting. So this meet every 6-7 weeks, and we're trying to get as many officers across the council from each directorate, so we can get an understanding of what other members of the council are doing. So they make sure that there's no duplication in work, or another council department might be doing some work, and we kind of tag along with them and see how we can help each other. So, for example, this week we've got lots of members of staff in conjunction with the youth service. We're in Lancet Major Comprehensive School. They've gone in, their youth service are already going in, and we tagged along with them from a placemaking perspective. It was a really good way to have some discussions with some of the local residents of the area, because across all 4 towns we have struggled with some of the younger generation getting to engage because there's lack of apathy. They don't really see the change that we can make. So we've had to be a bit more proactive and actually go into the schools during lunchtime sessions, so we can have lots of discussions with lots of pupils. What's been really helpful this week is in Lanswick, we've been there every day, and at the start of the week, there's pupils who walk past us and they're like, oh, I don't know what they're doing, not interested in that. Yesterday, one of my colleagues there, she was noticing that there were more pupils who were getting more and more interested. So we suspect that there were pupils who saw us on the Monday, thought, oh yeah, not interested in that. And they saw us on the Wednesday and again on the Thursday, oh, what's going on here? So we have had lots of really good output already this week. We're also working with Age Friendly as well, seeing how we can join up, because lots of the areas that we work in they have a significantly higher proportion of over 65, especially the likes of Cowbridge. So there is an aging population in these areas, like relative to Vile and Wales got significantly older populations, and kind of teaming up with the Age Friendly service as well. And then, so the 4 councils we are working with, obviously, Lanswick, Barry, Penarth, and Lanswick Major, sorry. And so right from the start, we've engaged extensively with them. We've had a number of meetings with them before we've gone out to any public consultations. It has taken a while to build up these relationships, and there was a lot of apathy right from the start. We were turning up to one meeting, and apparently one officer or councillor was in charge, and we turned up to the next meeting, and another officer would be the lead contact stroke in charge. So over time, like just continuing with these relationships, we've kind of identified the officers stroke councillors who are most helpful, most interested in the placemaking agenda. So we kind of kept those lines of communication consistent throughout to try and keep that continuity. And then, so now to the bread and butter. We've held a number of engagement events over the 18 months. And as already alluded to, we're kind of tagging along to existing events. So we have the King's Coronation, Barry Pride, coffee mornings, existing community drop-in events, Penarth Summer Festival, and Glastonbury. And there's been loads of events, and we've been, with time, we've improved our engagement methods, we've improved the appeal of our stand. We've got little toys and stuff so the children come across and their parents can engage with us then while the children are playing with something in sand pit or something. We've like modified the ways to get those members of the public to come across to us. And sometimes it hasn't even been the output is necessarily important. It's just planting the seed about placemaking. So next time people see some literature or some discussions around placemaking, oh yeah, we know what that's about. We saw those people in Barry Pride, we saw those people at the Penarth Summer Festival. So the people it's getting more familiarity about the events. We've also had some good instances of I like to call it placemaking live, where we've had a number of events whereby I've noticed residents who bumped into, oh, hello, you live at number 11, oh, I live at number 8. And you can see you're kind of forcing these people together by having these events. And we like to think that, we are making relationships just by having these placemaking engagement events. And there's just some other examples. And then, so some of the success stories that we've had throughout. So we've developed really good relationships with each of the town councils, and it has taken some time, but with perseverance, we feel really good rapport, and it's been really good to get to know these people, and they're showing genuine enthusiasm. Lanswick Major Town Council, for example, they've done some engagement work off their own volition. They know it's quite a lot of work to set up an event, but they've been going to pub quizzes and just going in and just getting people to fill out some likes and dislikes. And it's very simple engagement, but when you pull all this stuff together, it's very easy to develop some themes. So we've been really grateful for Lanswick Major Town Council, and Cowbridge have done loads. They've all done lots, but Lanswick really stood out at the top. They've got off their own back, they've gone out and done engagement without us there to support them and what have you. And we've had some really good buy-in from members of the public across the towns. We've had lots of existing groups who've been really interested in the process, who want to become involved. There's lots of really active groups in Penarth, and they're really keen on getting involved with the process, meeting with the consultants, offering their thoughts and ideas. There's also lots of existing projects which are in the offing, and so we're seeing how we can incorporate those projects into our placemaking agenda. And then I think some of the challenges was important to discuss. As already alluded to, it's important to have the patience with the councils because it has taken a while. At the start, they just weren't really interested at all, weren't responding to emails, but we had our deadlines, we knew we had to persevere. So we just kept gently. And once they could see the engagement events, and now we've got the consultants on board, they're much more invested. So you do need to be patient and keep cracking on with them. And also that key thing is finding that consistent contact in the council. As I say, with each of them, it's kind of jumping from one councillor stroke officer at a time. So it's quite a challenge, and we couldn't really be too, we had to be delicate about this. Well, who we speak to, we kind of worked out in the end who the main contacts were, and just kind of kept emailing that person, CCing everyone else in, so it's all open book, everyone can see, but just keeping that going. And then I think another issue that we've had is within the Viaduct Memorial Council. Whilst we have got good support now, it has been a challenge getting other departments to buy into the placemaking vision. So there might be some existing projects going on in a town. We didn't know about it, and we could have known about that, because it doesn't make us look very good when we're at an event and someone asks us about a project that we don't know. So we've got that message out to other departments saying you need to let us know. So we have like an overarching spreadsheet which projects, no matter how small or large, they're fed into, so we can keep checking into those. So I mean, in summary, I mean, it's, it has been a journey, but we really have benefited from keeping those relationships with the council, face-to-face contact, because not all the time, but they do like face-to-face meetings, especially when those initial meetings. I've just been quite happy to go along and just offer that support, be really responsive to emails. Don't wait like 5 or 6 days for an email, because some of these councillors, clerk of works, they only work like half days or limited hours, so it's nice to be quite responsive, we find. And so yeah, so overall, got the 4 placemaking plans, and they're due to be complete in March. And that's me. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, thanks, Alec. Really good to see the local authority side, and I think that message about consistent contact and perseverance is really important, coming through that, and how you're going out to meet people where they're at as well. That's really helpful to understand, and thank you for sharing the lessons learned, because we know it's not all easy and it's not all a bed of roses, so it's good to understand that as well. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'll hand over to Ruth. Just a reminder to put any questions in the Q&A if you want to ask our speakers anything, or ask me anything, or share any projects or experiences. Do drop them in the Q&A, and we'll get to those after Ruth. So I'll hand over to you. Thank you. We can see that. We can't hear you at the moment though, Ruth.
Okay, is that better?
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. I'm Ruth Essex. I work freelance as a sort of creative engagement person, placement in the world of placemaking, and just putting this together made me think about why I was in placemaking. I kind of came to it as someone who was trying to make things happen on the ground. I was working in the arts and trying to develop art spaces in the UK, and realised everything was really difficult. It's very hard to get traction or influence the way a place was, and I saw a lot of waste of potential in places. People who had ideas weren't really making things happen, and so I went and studied town planning. Then I realised I didn't want to be a town planner really, and then I realised I was a placemaker maybe, and now I've realised I'm more of a tactical urbanist. So yeah, I just wanted to talk through some of the things that motivate me in this sort of work, and then a few examples of what I've been doing recently. So the first thing that I've often don't have a lot of money and resources to do projects, which is the case in most places. But I thought, it's really important that that doesn't stop us doing things. So um, I basically always fall back on the principles of asset-based community development. So which I'm sure some of you have worked in. I think community development workers sort of sussed out some of the rules of placemaking a long time ago in the 90s. So I thought I'd look at a few of those things again. The basic principles really of how we work. Everyone has gifts, building relationships. The thing I always fall back on is institutions as servants, and institutions being not just the authorities, but also the consultants and the people who are lucky enough to be paid to do this sort of work. So when I start a project, I do a lot of asset mapping. So I suppose looking for assets of a place, it depends on us being open-minded and sort of flexible and responsive to people. And not everyone's, so this is a sort of asset mapping project I did when I first started working in Bristol, trying to understand spaces with potential, and then sort of mapping them out and sharing them with people. And I think sometimes some people are better than others at searching out assets, and so I've always found that artists are good collaborators and that sort of thing. So I've done a lot of work trying to find assets that maybe are hidden to local authorities or regeneration initiatives. And that also involves searching out people with ideas and initiative, who are often frustrated people who have maybe come into contact with big sort of regeneration or placemaking initiatives, or have come into contact with local authorities and feel like they can't do anything, or have just got frustrated with the process. So I suppose what I try to do is bridge that gap between the larger institutions and then people who are very much on the ground with really good ideas, who just want to get on with things. So I just wanted to say a bit more about collaboration engagement. So yeah, this is a project. So I suppose I try to go a bit deeper and broader as possible when I'm working. So alongside the kind of more formal master planning or surveying, data gathering, I try and create softer forms of engagement that are maybe more fun, have a performative side. This is project I did recently to try and look at Haverfordwest Square, Town Square, and engage people in thinking about sort of new designs for the square. So the first thing we did was invite people along to come and clean the square and the sort of entrance ways to it. And as much as possible, collaborate, and on every single level, every single opportunity was about collaboration. So collaboration over and above engagement. We invited buskers down to the square. We basically did a 1-week residency in the square where we didn't just focus on asking people what they wanted to see, but we tried to be some change within the place. So we installed a mobile garden that we could move around the space, and people could come along and move it as they felt worked best. worked with students at the local college to design the planters and kind of paint them. And then that garden was then donated to a local venue in town. So we kind of used the opportunity of the project to leave resources within the town. We invited buskers down to the square. We created music sessions, basically changed the look and feel of the square at the same time as trying to understand what it was people wanted to do. So it was sort of doing rather than just listening. This was a really successful event, actually, where I worked with the local youth centre to, rather than have their usual night inside the centre, they brought all their stuff down to the square, and we kind of turned it into an outdoor youth centre, and which was a win-win, because they said that people in the town rarely saw what they got up to, and for us and for the town, the square was really animated and kind of completely changed in the way people used it. So one of the things that I often feel frustrated by is that we're not doing enough doing. So I often employ the principles of tactical urbanism, where you kind of you build the momentum for long-term change and do that visioning and planning, but alongside that you do temporary, short-term, low-cost projects, so that involve people in that change and almost also demonstrate what's possible. So this is some pictures of some projects that I've been doing in Maindee in Newport, South Wales, more recently, which is really involve people in doing the change in a quite a low cost but very effective way. So I use a process of rapid prototyping. So use the projects really to do the research. So test things out. This shows the broad process of that. So co-developing projects with people, doing a project, and then observing and collecting data and learning from that project, and then going again. So this whole process is part of the research towards the master planning or the bigger vision for the area. So these are some of the techniques we've been employing in Maindee. For the last few years, I've been working with a local charity called Maindee Unlimited. Well, in the last 2 years, I've worked with urban designers Roberts Limbrick as well, who've done some visioning and master planning for the district centre, and they've done data gathering and surveying to inform that plan. But alongside that, I try to bring more people into the process and do some sort of other projects which fed ideas and tested ideas alongside the master planning. So one of the most successful things we did actually was do a people's assembly at the local library, and it was very much like the event that Claire described up in Bangor, really, where we did do a lot of post-its and stuff like that. But what we did employ was techniques of citizens' assemblies. So we paid people who needed to be paid through tokens, and we almost selected people to create a really representative demographic. And I was really surprised at how paying people can really help. Well, not surprised, I knew it would help, but it kind of equalized things, actually. And we had a really mixed demographic. We supported young people to give presentations and talk about things, and it was a good way to inform the wider planning process. Then another project that I developed was a pop-up garden to start testing ideas of using up bits of space that really were underused around the district centre, and doing it quite quickly. So this was a little garden that was created using one parking space in the car park, and it's still there. So I did that initially as a 28-day temporary project, and it's been there for about a year and a half now, and no one seems to have be that bothered that it's there, and it's been quite well used. We've done a lot of stuff with people, helping people sort of take over spaces. Weirdly, I think that sort of transgression or changing the way space is used, going into streets, using them for football or badminton or whatever else, letting people paint things and decorate things and go a bit wild. That seems to get people quite excited and motivated about getting involved in their place again. Maybe something like feeling like they're breaking the rules a bit, or being allowed to play or do things. It can really motivate people. There's some more pictures of what we've been doing in Maindy. Again, play streets, letting people go wild on hoardings if there's hoardings there, planting up gardens, letting people take plants home as well. So sort of giving people stuff as well as inviting them in. This was a project that I did in the school where I created a after school club for young placemakers who then did a lot of design work for the car park. Actually, that's what they focused on. And then we managed to make some of their ideas come to fruition. Where a lot of them wanted to paint designs on quite a boring ball courts that's been neglected for years. And this year, as part of a project called Full Colour Maindy, we made that happen, and with the assistance of local people to paint it. So this was a lovely project where people could, it's a very simple way of people being able to do the change. And these just a few more shots of Full Colour Maindy Festival, where again we invited creative people in Newport to sort of take the lead on sort of making some quick changes to the district centre, and it's had a pretty huge impact on the area. I don't know if anyone's seen some of the footage, but I thought I'd leave you with these pictures. There seems to be a lot of tigers and mainly now, it's become a bit of a theme. But that's me. Oh, and that was the film. But that's I think I've run out of time to play the film. So
thanks, Ruth. Yeah, maybe we could share the film.
Yeah, you could share
afterwards. Yeah, we could perhaps drop it in the chat because I think it'd be something that would be good for people to see.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Fab. Well, thanks everyone for your presentations. Really helpful to see 3 different perspectives, but a collection of lots of ideas and thoughts about what makes an impactful process of placemaking, which involves and brings people along and empowers people, which is what today's all about. I've got a question in the chat here from Caroline. She says, very interesting, great to hear that young people were involved in all 3 examples. Were the tokens used to ensure involvement of less heard voices, for example, disabled people, representatives of different cultures, faiths, etc.? Ruth, I think that's for you based on the Citizens Assembly approach that you talked about.
Yeah, they were. I mean, we offered £50 tokens. We used tokens rather than money because following advice from people. and we offered them to everyone. Some people didn't take them. People, not everyone took them because they didn't feel they needed to be rewarded. But it really helped attract people who maybe wouldn't have come. We also offered childcare during the sessions, and it was just a simple way to make people feel like rewarded, that their input was really valued, I guess. So yeah, I mean, you obviously need to have a bit of money to take that approach, but we did two days of it, and I think it really worked in terms of bringing people to the table who wouldn't normally come. Particularly young people wanted the token. So, yeah, and it was really nice to have something. I think we had 30% of people under 18 at the event, which is quite unusual again.
Yeah. Great.
We also had translators, because that was particularly necessary for the local Roma community, because we realised that really was a barrier. People didn't want to speak, didn't feel like they wanted to contribute in English, and didn't feel particularly confident doing that. So that really helped as well.
Great. Claire and Alec, I don't know if you've got anything to add around sort of encouraging the sort of widest representation of the community to engage and be involved in this process. Alec, do you want to?
I got a really simple level is like children, they love maps, and it's you have a map out, they kind of be drawn across, they want to find their house on it, they want to find their school on it, and then that just starts that conversation. And then once we found that we can then quite comfortably engage with the parents or the carer who's with them, because the children engage with the map. So having a map is always a good way of breaking down that initial barrier, perceived or not. I find we find.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that I shared my last slide that we get people drawing their own maps and kind of mental maps, and they're not spatially accurate on thing, but that was more kind of drawing, but we get all sorts of kind of perceptions of people's how they perceive the place that they live and use, and yeah, as Alex says, that's young people and children really enjoy that and really respond well to that.
Great. Yeah, I spotted on that mental map that you included at the end there, Claire, the New Look and TK Maxx, wasn't it? With the sort of two landmarks that this teenager obviously uses as their reference points. So it's interesting to see how people, perceive their place differently. Great, thank you. I have a question, and I think a lot of what both Claire and Ruth have talked about, I suppose, is really great, but a lot of it involves a lot of uncertainty. So, for example, Ruth, at the beginning of your quest to find places and people, you don't really know what you're going to find, do you, at the start of that process? And similarly, Claire, at the beginning of a placemaking week, you don't really know what you're going to uncover in terms of organisations and ideas and opportunities. And yet quite a lot of the way we do things, Alec, you might agree, is quite rigid, or can be quite rigid, in the way things are funded, the way programs have to work, the way policies and processes have to be aligned. How do you think we can allow more time for the uncertainty and for the exploration and for the uncovering of people and ideas? And do you think there are opportunities to perhaps do things slightly different collectively in a way that enables that a little bit more?
I mean, stuff does take a long time, doesn't it? I mean, when with the sort of design process we're going through with the district centre in Maindee, I mean, part of the problem is we do a bit of work and we get people on board and motivate them around our vision, and then we disappear, and then we've got our plans, and then we're thinking, Christ, how are we going to raise 4 million quid for this? And I suppose what I've been doing is picking up small pieces of funding. We haven't let go of the vision, and there's parts of that plan that will only happen with infrastructure money, and big things that are going to take a while to get in place. But I've tried to separate out of the plan the things that people can actually do, because there's a lot of stuff in plans that often they all get bound up with all the big project, but you can often find things within that project that you could maybe not deliver perfectly, but you could start make happen.
Yeah.
So I see it as this continual process, and continuing to do things, even if they're tiny things, remind people that you haven't forgotten that it is going to happen. So yeah, I think there's always time for it. And again, there's if you look at for small amounts of funding, and look across the board at different funders, be it for some green space or from using an empty building, or I don't know, whatever, putting a nicer bin in, making a new seat. You can kind of keep that in people's minds that there's things that are changing. So yeah.
Great, thanks, Ruth. Claire?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with all of that. I think it's a really multi-pronged approach that you have to have, and as you say, we're always short of time. But in all the different sort of towns and cities that I've worked in, I can think of sort of often the best way is where there'll be all different things happening over a period of time. One will be us as a team or whatever who've been engaged to do this, going out, taking over, say, a shop space and running workshops. Like I said, the Master Planning Week, we've just done that in Exeter in Positive Light space, and we in that way we contact as many possible representatives of the community as we can, and we bring them to us. So that's one way, and then at the same time we need to go out there and do activities, whether it's like what Ruth does. We also in Bristol designed a wish cart and pushed it up and down all the streets around Old Market and into the schools and into the events, and people could write stuff and stick it on, and then finally we put it all on the wall of the Trinity Centre. This is in Old Market, and then we can send stuff out to them, which is a quick way, which I said the maps that went out all around Bangor for people to contribute to, which is another way of reaching more people in the very, very short timescales we had. And then we haven't talked about online communication, and obviously that's more difficult to access people and build relationships, but it's a useful way of keeping people informed of what's happening at what time and when. And also it's one more way of reaching more people with questionnaires and input in that way. So yeah, there's people coming to us going out there online and sending stuff and lots of activity.
Great, thanks, Claire. Alec, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, that's like, I think we've got like two contrasting groups. So we've had to modify some of our engagement techniques. We're a Barry Family Fun Day. We knew there'd be lots of young children there. That was our demographic we were struggling to engage with. They see us just stood there. They're just not interested. They might see a map, but sometimes they can't see it, just walk past. So we got some beatboxes. This wasn't my idea. I'd have to say it was. We had some beatboxes come in for the day, and all the words that the children were given, they were also attracted to the beatboxers, and they come across they'd give us words, and they could have some beatboxing lessons themselves. It was a really good draw to get these children engaged. And on the other end of the spectrum, we've got some as I said, we've got some very active community groups in some of the towns, and you have to trade very delicately here, because you want them to be part of the process, but they certainly want a lot more than they can get. They expect to be part of. One of them, they expect to be part of the panel to determine who would commission as our consultants. So that's obviously not going to happen. But at the same time, we want to keep these people on board, because if we say, no, you're not doing that, they'll get offended. Then they'll go to the local town and start saying, oh, this placemaking works all load of rubbish. We need their buy-in, we need their support. We do need to keep them at arm's length, because some of their expectations are quite high. But we need to keep them on board, because we need that groundswell of community support.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, there are a lot of challenges that come with involvement and engagement and empowerment of communities, and how to take on board what's said and use it meaningfully, but at the same time weigh that up against the sort of long-term expert view and opinion of what's
Yeah.
right for the town. I think,
Yeah.
you know, a long wish list might be great, but
Yeah.
the community, what the community want and what aligns with what's best for the place, I think managing that is
I
quite a
think
challenge.
the challenge is because these groups are so invested in their respective town and they've got some good ideas and they expect to be involved. If we, I repeat myself, if we seem to shun them, then there's no point in really carrying on placemaking because we need these groups to support and see the plans through. So there is that balance.
Yeah. Great. This is your last chance to ask a question because we will be finishing in a couple of minutes. So if you've got a quick one, drop it in now. What has gone into the chat is a link to the next session, which is in December about vacant units. And Caroline has also dropped in there a link to the DCFW My Square Mile, which is a resource that can be used to do some of what we've been talking about today. So if you're looking for more resources, go there. Ruth will drop in or send round the link to your full colour Maindee project. I had the opportunity to go and have a look at that when you were doing that, and it was great to see all the community out and contributing to that, and you know, brightening up a piece of Newport that really needed it. So some key reflections then I would say is in terms of empowering communities, there's a long-term investment here of continued and sustained collaboration and involvement that requires different types of input. So there's the kind of sustained institutional element that comes from the local authority. There's the creative element that generates these ideas of how to engage and what to look for and seeing things in a different way. There's the professional input of your design team and the collaborative and creative way they need to input into the process. And all of that needs to work together as you develop a plan and a proposal. And as you wait perhaps sometimes quite a long time for funding to come through for that to happen, you know, what can you do in the meantime? How can you keep that engagement going? I think, Ruth, your idea of just identifying the things that people can do and cracking on with those in the meantime is really helpful. And if we don't do it with people, then you know, the whole plan will be much less effective. So thank you so much to Ruth, Alec, and Claire. Really, really helpful to hear your presentations. Thank you everyone for attending. And we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.